Alright everyone, I said in my last video I would make this one. It kinda regards Coulter and her opposition to some of what Trump's done, Shapiro and all these others, certainly some of the never-Trumpers. Some people have tried to cast it as Sticks, the Trump apologist, doesn't want to criticize Trump. First and foremost, I've criticized him a half a dozen times. I've criticized him on not rolling out his tax plan quick enough. Within the first few weeks of his presidency, I went after him on CIA black sites. He suggested they should be reopened. I totally oppose that. The idea of banning or going after people for flag burning, that's a protected expression. It's an offshoot of the First Amendment, so I oppose him on that. I definitely oppose the Syria strike, and I understand that, of course, Coulter did too. Even though she was in favor of the mother of all proxy wars, which is Iraq, it's not just Syria and Syria strikes or just Libya. There's a whole basket fucking full of proxy wars that we've been involved in and side conflicts. You look at what happens in Yemen. We give Saudi Arabia all sorts of armaments. They go and beat on a bunch of Yemeni, essentially civilians, for little or no provocation. They fight back. Ooh, you're terrorists, and stuff like that. It's just what's happening in the region. We should leave it alone. And I'm sorry, but there's been no Middle Eastern conflict that I've actually been in favor of. Can you find one? I don't want to strike Iran. I don't want to get involved in Syria, unless we're, like, helping Assad get rid of ISIS. Bombing ISIS is fine. That's a non-state actor. You still need the will of those countries to operate there properly. That also requires, at this point, working with the Russians. It's a little more complicated than some people suggest. Going into Libya, running a no-fly zone, there was a bad idea. Egypt getting involved with their political system when Obama said, "Oh, you Muslim Brotherhood, Arab Spring." Yeah, what a wonderful thing that was. It was just great. Turkey, I wouldn't want to get involved there either, especially not with Erdogan becoming a dictator. We all saw what just happened with some of his bodyguards and pro-Erdogan people, with some non-violent, protesters who were Kurds. And I don't support like a Kurdistan or anything like that, but to have Erdogan's people show up and start beating people, we should cast them right out of the fucking country. Tell Erdogan, don't show your fucking face in this country until you can get a handle on your fucking bodyguards. That's what we should be telling him. And I'm no friend of him either. Fuck Erdogan. I don't fucking care about Tayyip. But here's the thing. There's fair criticism, legit criticism, and then there's off-the-wall crap, delusional swill that you get from some of these people. Coulter comes out and says, "Oh, Trump hasn't built the wall yet. 0% complete." He can't get funding from his own party. He doesn't, the President of the United States doesn't control the purse strings. Congress does. They have to fund the wall being built. You can talk all day about, oh yeah, but he hasn't caused them to do that. It's going to take time. He's got a bunch of never-Trump Republicans to have to deal with. He's going to have to, unfortunately, sweeten the deal, give him a bunch of pork and shit, in order to get him to sign on to such an idea. At that point, it doesn't even save money. And then they can turn around and tell, their constituents, "Oh, Trump spent all your money. I was against it. He lorded it over us. Oh, he's such an evil person." They'll run against him or something. That's what he has to be concerned about. Going after Trump because he hasn't built the wall yet is ridiculous. He can't build it upon his own authority. He can make all the plans he wants. And he got his commission. That was funded to look into the cost, how long it would take, what form is it going to take. That's all well and good. He still has to fund building it. It's going to take time. It's going to take more than a few months. Nothing works that fast. I'm sure he wishes that it did. Mass deportation, number 2. That's an unfair criticism. Did I not say throughout the entire campaign, including when Trump said, "Oh yeah, we're going to deport all these criminals and stuff," did I not say he was never actually going to deport non-criminal illegals? Now, some are. Suspicion, maybe links to cartels without any actual charges and so forth. Certain groups of refugees, so-called, and that's fine, that's all well and good, but there will be no door-to-door Gestapo squads removing people from the country. It was never going to happen, and criticizing him for this shows that you misinterpreted what Trump actually promised to do, because he came out very shortly thereafter and said, well, we're going to get rid of criminal illegals, those that have committed crimes. They were being caught and released by ICE before under Obama's rules. He ended that. Now he's getting the info on who's actually committed crimes and deporting them, which is what he should do, it's what he must do, and it's all he was ever going to do. And he clarified that. He said, all you had to do is listen to him speak about it. He said, when asked at the debates, On national TV, everyone saw him say this. Oh, what do you know? Blah, blah, blah. What are you going to do? What's your specific proposal? Well, we've got to get rid of criminal illegals, and then we'll think about the rest of it. But that's priority number one. In political speech, what that means is, I'm going to deport people who have committed crimes here. Everyone else, I don't care. Then, criticizing him about, like, sanctuary cities. The court stood in his way. They're the one. He can't randomly override the judiciary. Now, I understand the concern here. I'll say this. In defense of people like Coulter, honestly. I'm concerned, too, about judicial overreach. No, the judiciary technically does not have the ability to issue a permanent stay on such actions. He is within his legal right to act in such a way. But here's the complication. Once the court has reached such a decision, unless he intends to go to the Supreme Court of the United States, which takes a huge amount of time, he can't override that. He can't simply go forward with an executive order that has been issued against by a federal court, even if that court lacks the authority. This is a problem with our judiciary. They make arbitrary decisions, which aren't technically under the Constitution legally binding, but they are. It's acted as though they are legally binding for all intents and purposes. It's a big problem. It's part of judicial activism. And judicial activism, by the way, people on the right love judicial activism when the justices are weighing in on something improperly that helps their bottom line. And the left loves judicial activism when they do the opposite. They weigh in on something, make like a liberal, a left-wing decision, and they love it. Everyone hates it when the decision is against them. This is the case with Trump too. His only other option would be to basically ignore it, say, well, they don't have the authority, so I'm just going to ignore this. We're going ahead with our plans. We'll deal with this in the Supreme Court later and shut these fuckers up. And it would become a constitutional crisis. The very idea would go to the Supreme Court. What if they rule against him? What if they rule that they do, under some arcane statement made 200 years ago, they rule that it's actually perfectly fine? You've got a permanent blockage in government. One single federal judge can shut down basically any maneuver by the executive branch at any given time without any further justification. He doesn't want to bring that to the Supreme Court. It'd play havoc. It would require a patching by a constitutional amendment. You realize how difficult that would be right now? So if you want to criticize Trump, I'm no apologist for him. I've already criticized him a bunch of times. He has done and said things that I don't like. I didn't support the strike on Syria. I thought it was a bad idea. Yes, it didn't lead to any larger conflict. Yes, it was just maneuvering, show our enemies that we're boss and we can bomb them if we want to. That's fine. People still died in the strikes. Those are real living people. I know that often it's far removed from us, especially if we're witnessing it on the internet. We look at, it's just pixels on a screen. Those are real people. They have families too. And I feel fucking sorry for the Syrian people. I don't want to see more refugees created. I want Assad to restore order and those refugees to go back to Syria. Most of them don't even want to be in Europe or the US. They see us as part of the problem that they have to deal with over there in the first place. So we're the reason, kind of, why Aleppo's fucked up, because Obama kept arming the FSA, and that's really on him. It's his fault, not Trump's. I understand that, but I oppose that. The flag burning, the CIA black sites, dragging his heels on a tax plan that should, by all means, be popular with even, like, the never-Trumpers. All he has to do is sprinkle a few favors in there for them. He gets his simplified tax code, and he could go further than that. And that's another thing. I think he needs to go further on taxes. He needs to go back to like the tax rate that we had in the 60s, where the top tax rate, the actual operative top tax rate was like 25, 27%. That's what we should be doing. And he should be slashing and burning half these bureaus out of existence, not sitting there wondering who he's going to pick next to head him. DHS isn't even an old agency. Why does it even exist? There's no reason for it. We just pay a lot of money for no reason. And I got after him as well about the idea of increasing the military budget. We don't need to increase the military budget. We need to streamline the military and do away with some of these like non-military contract firms, private firms, they do business with the military, and they overcharge them. If you stop that from happening, the cost will drop on its own, so that the budget they've already got would be technically a lot more because they can stretch it a lot further. Yeah, you could massively increase manpower. There'd be no problem paying for them. You'd pay the troops more. You'd still save billions of dollars every year. And as far as, I'll add something else that I didn't make a video on, but I'll add it for the benefit of this one. Trump attempting to take credit for a lowering of the deficit. keep in mind, and I pointed this out year after year under Obama, the debt and the deficit are not the same thing, and he doesn't even really get to take credit for it. He hasn't taken any meaningful action yet as president that would have a great impact on the deficit, other than, you know, there are more jobs maybe now because consumer confidence is higher because he's the tycoon president instead of sort of, you know, the Weather Underground president of snorting coke and stuff like. He's not the weird president who hates like coal mines and small businesses and wants to have just multinationals. He's a pro-business president. So that brings confidence back. That might help a little bit. But we're still adding to the debt. It's just that we're adding less to the debt now. It's still going to be a while before that takes care of itself. Hopefully it does. Hopefully we go back into the green. Hopefully the debt slowly starts to recede and we don't have another major bubble burst for another decade or two. Hopefully. You know, cross your fingers. I don't expect that it's going to be that rosy, but let's hope. Let's just hope beyond hope that it is that rosy and that that's a nice future we have to look forward to. Oh, the debt's down to like $2 trillion instead of like what is it, 16, 17, who knows how many trillion or whatever it's at now. People stopped even bothering to look at how much debt we had. They don't want to be reminded of it. It seems like an insurmountable total. So yeah, there's plenty to complain about with regards to Trump, and it's good to air your grievances. We do have to keep him accountable. You can't just simply sit there and say, oh, Trump is great, everything he does is fine, never going to question it. That's no different from the Obama bots like years ago. Oh, Obama killed people with drones, so that's fine. He's got a Nobel Peace Prize. Obama's spying on everyone? Oh, that's fine. He's not Bush, so he's trustworthy. His agencies can be trusted with violating the Fourth Amendment on a regular basis, let's face it. No, that wouldn't be good. But complaining that he hasn't built a wall, he hasn't deported 15 million people, it's retarded. He's not going to deport those people. I stated that during the election and voted for him despite because I didn't care. He's not going to deport those people. A lot of these people are children. They're not going to deport little kids back to Mexico or wherever. Maybe if they've come from overseas, yeah, that's a different story, you know, under some refugee program. If it's somebody who came across the Mexican border, no criminal record, they're in a relationship, or they've already had a job, they'll pay back taxes and they'll be given conditional residency, which is fine as long as you get the wall built eventually. The immigration problem largely will solve itself. It doesn't even matter if you legalize those people. Get them on the books. Hell, it'll actually grow the economy. It'll stall out a little bit. It'll then sputter its way up and, you know, actually grow faster. It needs to gain traction first. You do have to have a wall, though, if you do, by the way, intend to do that. If you're going to legalize anyone, you need the wall to prevent more waves of people that you have to legalize in the future, or you're just kicking the can down the road. This is what Reagan did with Stimson-Mazzoli. With the Stimson-Mazzoli Act, everything was already in place, everything was already perfect, except there was never a barrier built. It's the only problem. But expecting him to do it, like the first 100 days in office, Trump immediately mobilizes 1 million people, starts a new conservation corps, and 1 million people charge the border and immediately lay the groundwork for the wall. 2 months later, the wall is built, and it's perfect and big and beautiful and gold gilded, covered in solar panels and levitating trains, and it's got big pictures of Trump on it. It's not going to happen. It's not how government works. You know how slow government works? You look at something like the Big Dig. It's handled on the municipal level. And how many years and years and years and extra billions of dollars were thrown at it, and how shitty it was. It finally gets completed, but it was way behind schedule. It was way over budget. I understand Trump is more effective than some people that could be holding that position. But asking him to be perfect is stupid. So when Coulter comes out and says, oh yeah, so far it's been a disaster, he hasn't even built the wall yet. You expected it to be built in 4 months' time. Is that lunacy, or is that living in the sane world, Miss Coulter? What about people like Ben Shapiro? They'll call him out for one thing or another, and it's never something that makes any sense. It's just being it's like Glenn Beck. You know, oh, let me crunch up these Cheetos and dip my face in the bowl. This is performance art. It's a statement about how bad Trump is, or something like that. Okay, that's really profound, Mr. Beck. There's a reason that you're no longer you're too crazy for Fox News. So you're screwed. By the way, apparently Beck's in talks with Bill O'Reilly, get him on board with the Blaze or something on his podcast. Like, they're going to be the gruesome twosome. Glenn Beck and Bill O'Reilly, both, you know, canned at Fox for being too fucking retarded. They're going to get into business together and form, like, some sort of weird online syndicate or something. That's going to be really, really entertaining. Yeah, it'll be the Bill hour, and then the Beck hour, and then the Bill and Beck hour, and then they'll have some guests on, and then they'll sit there, they'll slowly get inebriated, they'll get drunk, and then they'll talk about their problems with women or something like that. Like Glenn Beck's thing there where he said, oh yeah, come by my office and I'll take pictures of you or something like that. It was all really weird and whacked out. Yeah, he's a Mormon and Bill O'Reilly's a Catholic, so one of them supposedly, according to his religion, is not allowed to have alcohol. The other one has to have alcohol. I'm sure that this will work out just perfect and peachy. As far as these neocons and warhawks and assorted people that they pretend to be like Coulter does, pretends to be a populist but ultimately isn't, goes on Fox, it's corporate media, why do you think she's invited on there all the time? They go on there and the things that they're complaining about make no sense. It's not that they're criticizing Trump that I have a problem with, because I do it constantly too. If he does something shitty, I'm going to call it shitty. But not building the wall wasn't going to be accomplished by now. It'll take a couple years probably to actually get Congress to get its ass in gear and associate funds, amalgamate them together, get enough money to even get it started, let alone to get it actually physically built. It's going to take a while. As for mass deportation, no, it's not going to happen. I hate to let some of you down, the more hardline populists and some of the nationalists. You're like, oh, deport everyone. Anyone who came here without paperwork, permanent deportation. Build a 200-foot tall wall on both borders and kill anyone who tries to cross. Not gonna happen. Maybe in La La Land, not feasible. It's not feasible. There are too many gun toters down in the Southwest who will shoot the federal agents trying to round up illegals if they decide to scrap the Constitution, declare martial law, and go door to door to find them all. It would cause a civil war in this country, and the people, by the way, resisting would largely be right-wing individuals. They'd be Republicans down there. We're talking several million white Texans, heavily armed. Yet there's no standing army in the world that's going to deal with that. It's not going to happen. Trump's not genocidal. He knows better than to kill several million of his own citizens, which would be required to actually pull it off. Fair criticism's fine. But I'm not going to sit there and shut up and not criticize somebody who's levying unfair criticism. Because so often it is. People went after Obama for years and years. A good example, well, kind of a good example. They're like, oh, Obama's a Muslim Kenyan socialist. No, he wasn't. He was just an inept idiot. He was inept, and he was a corrupt corporatist, not left-wing, neoliberal Democrat. That's the problem. That's why he was ineffective. That's why he spied on people. That's why he started a bunch of wars that he pretended he was anti-war. He's fucking total hippie, and weed is fine. He continued the drug war after admitting, yeah, I smoked weed. He also probably snorted coke. There are plenty of tales about that. But he didn't need to be a Muslim Kenyan socialist to be a screw-up of a president. People were criticizing him for the wrong thing. That's, by the way, how you end up with public officials not being held accountable. Trump's fans will make a huge deal about something like the wall or deportation, the former of which takes time, the latter of which he was never going to do. They'll criticize him for that. Then when it comes to something like flag burning, black sites, a tax plan, they ignore it. They don't even care. Yeah, I think we've isolated the problem of, why political officials so often don't feel accountable. Because you're not holding them accountable. Not for the right things. Not for things that matter. Not for things that can actually be helped. Trump says, I want to reopen CIA black sites. It's not legal, and it's a terrible, terrible idea. And few people even spoke about it. But then you have everyone jumping down his throat because Congress stood in his way, as though he controls the budget, which he doesn't, for not already, amassing $40–50 billion to build his wall. It's unfair criticism. You can't possibly expect him to have accomplished that yet. It's not possible for him to have done so. Certainly not with the never-Trumpers. Not with the McCains and the Grahams, who all of a sudden are pretending to be fiscal conservatives. Before they're like, yeah, spend money on this, spend money on that, stimulate this, stimulate that, grants for you and loans for you, bail everybody out. Oh, the money is just flying out of their hands. That's how they acted before. Now all of a sudden they're skinflints. We don't have the money for the wall anymore. We don't have enough money to fund this. Oh, wait, oh, says Trump, well, I'll cut like, 10% of these 3 agencies' budgets. Oh, you can't do that. Not those agencies. Find different ones. And any agencies he puts forward, they're going to say the same thing to him. They're going to stonewall him because they don't want him to build his wall. Globalists love illegal immigration. They also hate the idea of Trump actually doing one of his main campaign promises. But you know what he has done? He didn't sign the TPP. Good. He's renegotiating NAFTA. Good. Hard line on North Korea. Good. Backed up off of Russia mostly. Good. Working with the Chinese. Good. Yeah, those are good things. That's a decent start to his presidency. These people talking about impeaching him, you haven't even given him a chance to be the president of the United States yet. He's barely past transition mode. He's barely past his first 100 days. Be reasonable. I know that that's not in the MO of the neoliberals or the social justice warriors, but you know what? You're not going to get to remove him from office because fucking James Comey wrote something on a post-it note. That's so pie in the sky. It's not going to happen. Watch. Watch what happens with this investigation. Even if he gets impeached, he won't be removed and he'll still be there. And you'll still have to deal with him. Unless of course, you really, really, really want to go whole hog and remove him. Then you deal with President Mike Pence, an evangelocon moralist who thinks, like, I don't know, gay people should get electroshock therapy. That's the kind of president you'd prefer? Okay. Enjoy working with him for several years. I'm sure that you'll get a lot accomplished. Now, you get nothing accomplished. The Democrats still won't have a platform. They still won't have a strategy for dealing with the Republicans who have embraced sort of the social media meme-worthy era, led by Donald Trump himself. You still don't even have a strategy. Your strategy right now is impeach the bastard. And if that fails, what then? Complain about Russia some more. Okay. That's going to get you very, very far, I predict. That's about all. Peace out.